Should you assume that your financial advisor does tax planning? Well, here to talk with me about this is Robert Klein from the Retirement Income Center. Robert, welcome.
Thank you, Bob.
So you just wrote an article about this very topic for Retirement Daily. I'm curious, what inspired you to write this article?
Great question. Several months ago, a potential client sent me an email, and he just started it out by saying, I'm going to read what he said. I was unsettled when I found out only recently that our financial advisor informed me in so many words that he does not give tax strategy advice for our funds. It was something that I just took for granted that would be part of the quote unquote package. Little did I realize that it takes another layer of expertise to navigate the daunting work of retirement taxation strategy to reduce one's tax burden.
Pretty unsettling, I guess, for that person to realize that their advisor didn't do tax planning. So what to make of this?
Well, yeah. And it hit me right away because I'm an experienced financial advisor with a CPA designation who does and specializes in tax-sensitive retirement income strategy. I understood his frustration, and it brought back memories of several articles that I wrote starting back in 2010, 2013 about this topic. And what I make of it is that when you're exploring a relationship with a potential financial advisor, it's important that you pursue this line of questioning. Do you do tax planning? Do you do comprehensive retirement income planning? These are two important things. Oftentimes we're referred to investment management firms, and literally, that's obviously a great important service, but they often don't wrap it, if you will, as part of a comprehensive retirement planning approach. It's really a double question. Does your financial advisor do tax planning? Does your financial advisor specialize in comprehensive retirement planning?
And of course, other noteworthy journalists and professors have written about this. You mentioned them in the article. What do they have to say about this topic?
Yeah, it was interesting. About a month after I received that email from the potential client, I came across an article in the Wall Street Journal by Glenn Rufinock, and he made the point that you need an advisor who specializes in retirement finances, and he further stated not all advisors do. And within the article, there's a Derek Tharp, who's an assistant professor of finance at the University of Southern Maine, who specializes in doing retirement research. He was featured in the article, and he emphasized the importance of the comprehensive retirement planning approach. And specifically, he went on to say, this means an advisor who, in addition to your investments, will help you with Social Security, Medicare, estate planning, insurance, and long-term care.
Yeah. So in your article, you also talk about, and Derek talks about, the importance of tax planning within building out a retirement income plan. Talk more about that.
Yeah, according to Derek, he said that tax planning is basically one of the most, if not the most important services that a retiree needs. And furthermore, the emphasis needs to be on the long term. And as an example, he cited that an advisor should be familiar and use tools such as Roth IRA conversions that can help reduce taxes in the future. And he went on to say that a good advisor will start with your tax returns and will spend a fair amount of time. And he had an interesting quote there. He said, if a financial advisor is telling you, talk to your CPA about taxes, that immediately should raise a red flag.
Obviously, having an advisor ask you for your tax return, but then referring you to your CPA seems a bit problematic. Just talk for a moment about, in the world of financial advice, not all advisors are allowed to give tax advice. In fact, their firms will specifically tell their advisors that they're not allowed to talk specifically about that. Any comment?
That's a dilemma. There's firms also that tell their advisors you can't say anything about annuities. And so, I personally wouldn't be comfortable working in that kind of environment because both of those things are so essential to the success of a retirement income plan. And as a potential client of that firm, that's, a question let's say you didn't know about that coming in, that would be a question I would ask. What are the limitations placed upon you as far as subject areas? Can you talk about tax planning? Can you talk about annuities? Can you talk about long-term care insurance? Are there any limitations to what you can discuss?
Hmm. So in terms of vetting whether someone can actually adequately talk about tax planning, are there some things that you recommend that a person might do to sort of guarantee or ensure that they're working with someone who does in fact do what they say?
I would just ask a lot of questions up front, and get into, maybe ask them some specific questions about, okay, how do you approach tax returns? And tell them, it's okay to tell them, you've been doing research, and one of the things that I'm curious about is when you look at tax returns, are you capturing loss carry forwards and other carry forwards from prior year returns? Because I understand that these things could impact my current tax planning, future tax planning, overall retirement planning. What specifically are you doing with tax returns? Are you doing tax projections? Can you do a tax projection? And if so, are you relying on financial planning software, or are you using some standalone income tax planning software? Because my understanding is that the standalone software is oftentimes more accurate and useful in my overall retirement income planning.
Yeah. There's another topic I think you and I have talked about in the past, is the notion of looking at your lifetime tax bill and trying to sort of manage that with Roth conversions, et cetera. Is that an area where a financial advisor could be, graded or vetted on, whether they're talking about this need to look at not just 1 year of taxes, but also a lifetime of taxes that you might face?
Absolutely. It's important whenever you're doing the tax planning, and this is why it's important that a financial planner works with professional standalone income tax planning software, because that gives you the capability to do these multi-year projections. And furthermore, it's important when looking at things such as you mentioned, Roth IRA conversions, is that you don't simply give advice as a financial advisor just based on marginal tax brackets, that you look at the long-term implications of doing a Roth conversion. And it's not simply about marginal tax rates today, because that might prevent you from giving otherwise suitable recommendations.
Yeah. So we've covered a lot of ground. Anything that we missed or anything that bears reemphasizing?
Just, going in as a consumer to meeting with a potential financial advisor, that you do your homework up front. There's numerous articles that have been written about this subject, about questions you should ask a financial advisor. So at the top of my list would be these questions about tax planning and overall retirement planning. The last thing you want to do is get, deep into a relationship with a financial advisor and find out that he or she isn't specifically trained in income tax planning, comprehensive retirement income planning. And because, that's really what it's all about. And that's true at an early age, that the focus should be on retirement planning.
So anything else?
Just one other thing, and it's pretty important. When you're working with a financial advisor, he or she doesn't have to be the expert in tax planning, so long as if it's a larger firm and they have the resources, that there's a point person or department that does have the expertise to discuss tax planning and can work with your financial advisor and do joint meetings in person, on Zoom, whatever. to provide that important tax planning expertise.
Yeah, and I guess I'm willing to bet that working with a person who has a CPA after their name would give you some comfort perhaps as well.
Yeah, once again, it doesn't have to be your financial advisor per se, but somebody in the firm that would be, reassuring. But then again, you need to dig a little deeper because not all CPAs are created equal.
Well, Robert, as always, want to thank you sharing your knowledge and wisdom with our viewers and readers. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Bob.